Barefoot Nation? This week we are inside, but it's July. Stay tuned and see what's going on. Alright y'all, so this video is actually going to be pretty short because most of my plants do go outside for the summer. I think it's probably a good thing to do to put your plants outside for the summer, as many of them as you can, but I don't put all of mine outside because I do like to have some greenery in the house still. So, starting off on the boot rack, which just has plants, I actually do have shoes there. So, yeah, you gotta wear shoes to work, unfortunately. Anyway, so this is a philodendron painted lady. That's what it was sold to me as. And originally, it was right over here. I had two plants flanking the sink. But yeah, so this painted lady has officially outgrown its countertop status. But this plant has outgrown its countertop space. I probably could cut it if I wanted to and propagate that. And then at the base I have a rabbit's foot fern and then two selaginellas. And then a little piece of zebra rock. Those are Saucony sneakers. So this is my unmaintained, shouldn't say that. I actually have had it outside for the past 2 days to get some rain. Rainwater has nitrogen in it, extra nitrogen from the air because our atmosphere is at the moment 78% nitrogen. So this is one of my favorite plants, so it technically should be outside, but I still don't really have too many shady areas. Believe it or not, I still have not had the time to put my canopy or my cabana up. So hopefully that's going to change pretty soon, but this is my Magic Star Calathea, absolutely one of my favorite plants. But anyway, it's planted in with a sedum. But anyway, this plant is planted in with a sedum Tokyo Sun, which is a 7B hardy sedum, kind of like lemon coral, but tiny. So the Tokyo Sun, sedums actually like a lot more water than people give them credit for. So this has actually worked out to be a fantastic plant combo. I've killed these Tokyo Sun sedums when they're in combinations with other succulents because they do like it more moist than you'd think. This pot right here is not on the boot rack, but it's still functional, whatever. This is my Philodendron gloriosum. It's not one of the fancy cultivars or any of that. It's just Philodendron gloriosum, although it is a nice strain. It does have some nice qualities to it. Can't really speak to the different varieties and all that. You'd probably have to see Kaylee Ellen or Plantarina's channel, or those ladies do a really good job. I just know it's Philodendron gloriosum, and it needs pruning. Also in this pot, again, as you can see, I like the companion plant. This was a struggling Calathea lancifolia, or rattlesnake Calathea. And so this philodendron, I actually just planted it in the container because this was struggling for quite a while. I had it in good light and kept it damp. And I just said, you know what, F it. If it comes back, great. It'll be an understory to the philodendron. And yeah, so eventually that's what's going to happen. So cool. An extra Calathea is never a bad thing. Right here, and more light than people would probably think is good, is a cast iron plant. This was recently repotted into what seems like a giant container. Now that I've actually looked at this cast iron plant in this pot, I really want to find other house plants that I can companion plant with it, because the scale's just off for now, and until it's got some new shoots coming up, but still. Cast iron plants are one of the few house plants that actually will do well indoors all year with very little care, and they're also surprisingly cold hardy. This variety is called Stars and Stripes. So with these dusty leaves, you can kind of get an idea why they call this plant Stars and Stripes. So it's got the kind of the speckles, those are the stars, and then of course the stripes. So I bought this plant before I acquired one of my favorite cast iron plants, which I'll show you a little bit later. But yeah, the cast iron plants are great because they're simple. This water it basically gets water exclusively from my French press. When I dump the grounds into the garden, all the rinsing out, the extra rinsing out goes into this plant. So it's not getting like a ton of nitrogen, but it is getting a little dose of fertilizer. These guys do tend to like it more on the nutrient lean side, but still a lot of compost. And you can see right here, this is another awesome plant that probably needs more light. It hasn't outgrown counter status in kind of a nice yin and yang ish container. But this was sold to me as a philodendron Jose Bono, has since reverted fully back to green. Absolutely no variegation on this plant whatsoever. I do wonder if putting it in better light would make the variegation come back. It's grown quite a bit, and it's a beautiful plant. I don't dislike the plant itself when it's green, but obviously you buy variegated plants for a reason. Swinging over to this part of the kitchen, we have, which faces south by the way, we have a Calathea orbifolia. Can you guys tell that my schedule's hectic because there's all sorts of brown leaves that need to be snipped off? This Calathea needs to be repotted, pruned, and yeah, it needs help. But you know, anyway, this is a Calathea orbifolia, which should be outside, but there's a mess of wires behind the Keurig and all the stuff that's going on here, so there's a plant to hide that. These are philodendron Burle-Marx cuttings. My Burle-Marx plant, I took dozens of cuttings, planted them outside earlier than I should have, and so as a result, as any reasonable tropical horticulturist would assume, when you plant them outside too early, they're going to sit there and piss and moan, and that's what they're doing. So anyway, these ones I was gonna plant outside in my water feature, but they probably would again, they would just drop all their leaves in the sun and not like it at all. So here they sit in a vase. This Calathea I actually bought recently. It's another lancifolia. I have quite a few of them, and yeah, it's in a self-watering container, and it's a beautiful plant facing south, getting good light. Right here you can see some type of fern. I actually have no idea. Probably some type of Boston fern, but I mean, again, I bought it because it's in kind of this cool vase with this assumably fake moss and pebbles, and it's I've actually had it for a little while now. Ferns, again, any fern is gonna like humidity, it's gonna like outdoor conditions, and it should be outside, but given that it's in a glass vase, it is not. And then of course right up here, you can see all the dust probably. This is a Ficus too little that I've had for quite a while, and this plant stays inside because I like greenery indoors. No, but it does. This plant always drops its leaves at some point, goes totally deciduous, and then re-leaves out sometime in March. And yeah, it's a cool little tree. I probably need to water it and care for it better. Moving on to the main room, you can see right here, this is a black gold snake plant. You can see it's really tall because it was living in my basement for several months of the winter. Yeah, no water. Snake plants are really tough. I wanted to see if they could kind of go dormant, and it doesn't really go dormant because it was sending new growth up that has no color whatsoever. There's also in here some type of Hoya, which was sold to me as assorted Hoya. So there's a snake plant, indoors all year because it's super hardy. Another plant which probably should be outside because spider mites, is this Stramanthe sanguinea. Now this was in one of my previous houseplant videos, in fact part 1 of this video, which was filmed during the winter. I love these plants because they're super tolerant of low light. This is inside purely because, again, I need to have some deep shade areas for this plant to thrive outdoors, and I just don't have that. So this Stramanthe is indoors for now. Again, this is the parent to Trio Star. What's cool is just like Trio Star, they still have those leaves, but again, this is a great kind of companion, you could say, to cast iron plants, except these Stramanthes have 0 cold hardiness, which doesn't really matter in the house as much, but this is a great low light plant which will truly tolerate low light. Rotating over this way, you can see this beautiful trough planter, which has basically just been cram-packed with tropicality. This, of course, is a philodendron Salome. I had a big palm, a cat palm in here, which got spider mites over the winter, and I pulled it out of the pot. Hadn't even rooted, and so I put this guy in here. This, basically, the intention is to kind of have some foliage to cover this blank white wall and provide kind of a living sculpture, which this Ficus tanicky is going to do over time. There are Calathea lancifolia, some rattlesnake Calatheas. These two I've had for, I don't even know how many years. I'm talking probably 7+. So they have quite a root system on them, and they've got some girth. This is just a golden pothos, just a great plant to have inside. And then of course the Monstera deliciosa cutting, which this is still living in the fish tank, doing really well, being gangly but awesome. I probably am gonna have to do some root pruning on this because this aerial root has basically went underneath the lid and found the water, which is amazing. So this plant is super cool. It was originally a temporary thing, but I actually really like it in the fish tank. So this plant here is probably, I think it's safe to say that this is my favorite cultivar cast iron plant. This is Aspidistra Goldfeather. And Goldfeather is stunning because even as a young plant, it has just the most beautiful just coloration. It's almost like Okame, which is the one that has this sort of pattern, but it's white. This, as you can see, is kind of a lime green to kind of yellow. And I just adore the thing. You can see that it was recently planted. I got this from Plant Delights. And yeah, so this guy here is going to, stay inside because it can. It's getting, this is a south window and this is a west window, but they're small and it's not right up against it. So this guy is absolutely doing fine with it. But again, cast iron plants, especially the variegated types, will tolerate way more light than people give them credit for. And then in my office, don't look at the desk because it's super messy. This is my coffee tree that I've had for years and years and years. Again, it really needs to go outside because they take a long time to put on a new flush of growth when they get shocked from having too much sun. You can see that coffee tree out there has been pissing and moaning for months, looking like that, or just bare branches. And so this tree needs to go outside desperately, but again, it's taking it from absolute full shade and putting it in a lot of sun. Lily right here, and this peace lily is not flowering because it's indoors and too much darkness, not enough direct light. This, again, probably, ideally I'd like to have kind of as an understory to my bamboo grove, but the bamboo has not yet formed a grove, so again, this guy is indoors. You'll notice a lot of talk about the garden still being young, but if you look out at the garden, it's absolutely beautiful. So this plant is sentimental to me. This was actually my grandfather's, which my Nana just randomly gave to me. I'm not really sure what changed, why she didn't want to care for it. But yeah, so she gave it to me, and it's in this kind of, I'm not a fan of the pot color. Kind of looks like dried blood, but you know, that's what they wanted it in, so that's what I have. Maybe to the side you can see here, this is a Peperomia obtusifolia, I believe is what it's called. Again, this is a plant that doesn't get any attention until it's literally drooping, and then I water it. And when I water it, I use water from either the fish tank or the turtle tank, and that's kind of like fertigation, which is pretty cool. Down here, doing a fantastic job of not showing you my horrendously messy desk, because again, this is busy season for me. This is a Calathea. I'm laughing at my own jokes. This is a Calathea mosaica, or mosaic Calathea, and this plant I haven't had for terribly long, but it's indoors doing well. This is, once you get the knack for Calatheas, you can really grow most of them because, you know, yeah, reasons. Of course, the big focal point of this office is this Strelitzia Nicholai. So this plant I've had since I was a freshman in college, which was back in 2015. Bought it at Lowe's. It was like the size of this little pup right there. Sorry for the overexposure. And yeah, so it's grown tremendously, and now it's got pups of its own, which is really cool. I'm not sure. This is like a takeout container that I'm reusing as a drip tray. So reuse, reduce, recycle. Sweet. So this bird of paradise is actually in a tree container, because what I can do with this, again, when it goes outside, this is July, mind you guys, when it goes outside, I can sink this pot into the ground, and these holes the roots will find, and so you're disturbing only part of the root ball and essentially air pruning the roots when it comes out of the ground and fall, and you can see that it has been sunk in the ground, but again, maybe someday. Just kidding. And so the last plant in this garden tour, this isn't a garden tour, the last plant in the part 2 of the houseplant video is this Trio Star Stromanthe. This plant is in a pot with no drainage holes, and so it's got it. So this hasn't been watered in quite a long time. I actually think since Christmas of last year, straight up, because when I brought it in, it was in standing water. So the growth has slowed. But I actually wanted to experiment with this plant because the green form, the wild form, does really well indoors 12 months out of the year. So I'm curious if the genetic differences with the Trio Star is going to make it any different. And so the main group of plants that you'll notice is not indoors, any of them, during the summer, regardless of what species, are palms. Palms absolutely positively need to go outside for the summer. They need the airflow, they need the humidity, and all of that to thrive and be able to tolerate indoor conditions for the winter. This is a Christmas palm, which was in one of my more recent videos about planting containers. Another plant which I forgot to mention in the kitchen is this aloe that came with the house. This was outside in the shade last summer, and it's just been doing well enough indoors that I haven't put it outside. Again, I probably should have put it outside in the rainstorm, but I didn't. But it's an aloe, so it'll be fine until it rains next time. Alright, y'all, I hope you learned something. To be honest, partially I filmed this video this week is because I didn't really know what to do. I kind of had, like, writer's block is a thing. Well, this is YouTuber's block, so anyway, y'all, let me know down in the comments what houseplants, if any, do you leave in your home throughout the summer. And if you want to see more content just like this, be sure to smash that subscribe button and the bell. And if you like this content, be sure to give it a big ol' thumbs up. Just like that.